questions to ask throughout a campaign with the confidence rising. I told WDF don't switch, good times are coming, don't even deep diving. Fan cams, reactions, watch along, still the pride of London thriving. The Eagles of South, they flying. Keep your eyes on us, we ain't hiding.
Yes guys, welcome back to episode 7 of Transfer Weekly, the show where I tell you all of the Crystal Palace transfer rumours and all the players that are linked with Crystal Palace during this January transfer window. This is the last episode, it's coming out on Monday, and Tuesday, the next day, is going to be deadline day, so look out for the deadline day streams, my people. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about 4 players because, you know, last episode only talked about 2 players. Bit upset that day, but is what it is. We get over it and we run with it. In this episode today, we'll be talking about one which we missed out on in the summer window, another one which we are always linked with and there's never any substance behind it, an ex-Arsenal midfielder, and finally a nice little surprise in there, nice little centre-back which could be part of a double deal. Anyway, let's get into it. So the first player that I'm going to talk to you guys about today is 24-year-old English central midfielder that currently plays for Nottingham Forest, Lewis O'Brien. Lewis O'Brien is definitely a player that we missed out on in the summer. Forest bought him from underneath us for about £10 million when he was at Huddersfield. He was a great player. He can play the 6 and he can play the 8 position. He played the 10 position a few times for Huddersfield, but it never really worked out. But he really excelled in the 8 position. And guess what, guys? That's exactly what we need. Someone to sit in the midfield with Decore and Eze or whoever else is in the midfield and screen that left side, because we know Hughes is great, but he does like an injury sometimes, and he's not young enough, I don't think. He doesn't have the energy that is needed. And if anything, he was the guy that we were looking at when Conor Gallagher went, because he's a carbon copy of Conor Gallagher, but he's just left-footed. Does like to come out onto the left side, screen the left side, link up well. He's left-footed as well, but he's also very capable with his right foot. Just the energy that he brings to the team is really incredible. He's one of them players that just keep running and running and running and running and running. But I want this guy to come to Crystal Palace now, because to me it seems like Forest have bought so many damn players that they've forgotten that he's even on the books. He's only got 3 appearances this season so far in a Forest shirt. I believe that is only 1 start, which he was probably promised to start every game, to be a main part in their midfield, and then to only have 1 start and only 3 appearances total. It's not a very good look right now for Forest, and for a player of his ability, he should not be on the bench for Forest. He should be one of the starters. If anything, I think he's probably one of the best midfielders that they actually have at the club. But that probably means that he's going to be more fired up, and if he comes to us, he's going to play that little bit better just to rub it in a little bit. Looking at how he plays, he's got very good attributes in how he plays. I'll list some off for you here now. In his game, he's got great tackling, great passing, great reading of the game, great ball control. His crossing's very good. His strength on the ball, and he's actually not that. He's not too slow either. He likes to pick up the ball from deep. He likes to drive forwards. He can pick up the ball from far forward and drive. He's one of them guys that love to defend from the front, and that's something that Crystal Palace need. He'll take a yellow. He'll get stuck in. He'll put himself around. He won't make the game easy for people. That's what Conor Gallagher didn't do. He never made the midfield easy for the other team, and I think that's what he excelled at when he was at Huddersfield. He would link up play, he'd get a few goals. His passing's actually very good. His passing's actually very good and very underrated in his game. I know he may be quite short, but I don't think that really matters in how he plays, because he really just doesn't stop running, and something like that, the energy is needed, especially when we've got Schlupp there who doesn't really run that well, and Hughes in there who doesn't actually press too well. And if anything, O'Brien's got both of the attributes that are missing in our midfield right now. Something that is also great, in my opinion, is he's so outrageously consistent. So, for example, when he was at Huddersfield, just looking at his score rating from L'Equipe, who's French journalist, French magazine, very, very, very harsh on their player ratings, but he always got a 6.5 to a 7.5 every game. He never had a He had some incredible games, but he never really had a game where he really dropped off that much. Like I saw a few sixes flat, but to have that kind of consistency out a whole championship season is actually incredible because we need a Maka replacement and someone that can do it week in, week out, be good, be solid, and if anything, Lewis O'Brien actually does play a bit like Maka. I know he's back training again, which is incredible to hear, but for Lewis O'Brien, he could be that Maka replacement that we've been needing for a long, long, long time. And he's younger, he's got the energy. He moves a bit. He moves around the pitch a bit like Maka. Does like to defend from the front like Maka. Listen, sounds like a perfect transfer to me. For about 10 million, we can buy him for what they bought him for, so they don't lose any money. If anything, we could give him a little bit more, maybe 12. They make money out of it, and for someone that they don't even use, probably someone that the manager doesn't even remember they bought. By looking at the heat map, you can see that he does like to hug the left side, like to, as I said earlier, he likes to channel out there sometimes. It'll be very good because Eze is the opposite. He does like to drift out to the right side, and then he can help link out with Elise and Klein or maybe Bowie. Hope so, but I'm not holding too much confidence in that one. But yeah, he'll go over there, help link up the play. But then the left side, sort of, Zaha has to do everything. And with Zaha now out for about 6 weeks, it says, for a hamstring injury, we're going to need someone else over there to help. And I know Lewis O'Brien isn't the most creative guy in the world, but he can still link up play very well. He can still pick up the ball and drive. And he is actually very good at crossing. So if he's actually down the wing out wide, he can whip a nice ball in with his left foot. Eddie don't score many headers, Mateta scores a few, but listen, for how I've seen him cross the ball, anything can happen. It really can. He'll really lighten the load, make the midfield a hell of a lot stronger, and make us look like the Palace of last year again, I think. I think that's the one thing we're missing right now, the energy. It's all about the energy. 43 starts and 43 appearances for Huddersfield. He averaged 89 minutes per game, which shows that he basically started every match he played, and he played the whole 90. He only got taken off a few times, maybe for a knock, maybe a tactical change, but we don't know. I haven't looked extremely far into it, but I'm sure it's mostly because of a tactical change, or he just started getting a bit tired during the end of the season, so I had to take him off a little bit earlier. Racking up 3 goals and getting 2 assists with an average of 1.1 shots per 90. Unfortunately, he missed one big chance, but he has won 2 penalties as well, which shows him driving into the box, having close control, nice passes, getting a shot off early, All these things add up to a great player, and if he's winning penalties as well as defending, he's sort of a jack of all trades, really, when it comes to a midfielder. His passing stats are pretty good. He's got 1 key pass per 90, with 78% pass percentage completion throughout the whole season. That's a lot of games, 43 games, and having 78% pass completions. Very, very good. He's got 1.7 completed long balls per 90. But this is only 47%, and that's probably where his main weakness is, his long passing, because I know it's 1.7 completed per game, but it does mean that probably says he also tries another 2, which get intercepted, and for how we play, if a long ball gets intercepted, we're going to be very vulnerable to a counter-attack, and that might be something to work on, something to work with. We've got great passers like Decore and Anderson. I'm sure he could learn a few things. He's still 24. He's not the oldest guy in the world, and he's still pretty young in most Palace fans' perspective because we're used to really old guys, but we'll move on. He makes 0.8 interceptions per 90, 2.2 tackles per 90, which shows his ability to read the game, defend from the front, defend from the back. Like, for example, this is a perfect stat for him to be placed next to Decore. Decore is right-footed, screen the right side. O'Brien's left-footed, so we'll screen the left side. Very good defending, something that we really need, something to get stuck in, win the ball when's needed, and perfect partner to him, in my opinion. Shows that he's great as an 8 as well. Very good at dribbling or drive forwards. He also wins 2.2 fouls per 90, which shows that when he's got the ball and he's running, he's actually pretty hard to get the ball off of, even for a short guy. Very strong on the ball. Very, very strong on the ball. But as I said, I think this will benefit both teams. 12 million maybe, up the price a little bit, get him on board. I know he didn't want to come to us. He went to Forest because he would rather be further up north, but I think if we give him this option, because he would 100% be a starter, and I think even he will look at this team and go, wow, I can make such a big difference. Look what Gallagher did. I can do that. Maybe I could do it a bit better. And I think he's the perfect guy for the job. So Parish, Texter, let's go. Let's get it. Next up on the chopping block today is Ismail Sarr. And I tell you what, if we don't buy this guy, then I don't want to talk about him anymore because we talk about him every single window. But as always, Watford want way too much money for what he's actually worth. I think everyone's still living off of the hype for how he played against Liverpool when they beat Liverpool 3-0. But guys, that's 3 years ago now. We were looking at him before he went to Watford initially. I think we was looking at him for about what, 10, 15 million pounds. I think that was the same time we was looking at Saint Maximin, who went to Newcastle for about the same amount of money. But you know how Palace are, we didn't get any of them. He is still a very good player and someone that could still be a very competent Wilfried Zaha replacement. He's had a couple of years in the Championship now. Very successful, actually. He's a very dynamic winger, does love to take on the man, and he's not afraid to get fouled, to get dispossessed, but he will always take on the man if he's one-on-one. Very good in the Champ as well. I think last season he was in the Champ, he scored 13 goals. I think right now, currently, I think he's on 6 goals or 7 goals right now in the Championship. We're only halfway through, so he's having a pretty successful season. But I think for the price that Watford want, about 25 to 30 million pounds is way too much money for what he actually puts out. I know it's in a bit of a depressing Watford team when he was in the Premier League, but I don't think we can justify spending that much money on a guy that scored 5 goals when he was last in the Premier League. Unfortunately, I don't think it quite warrants that kind of price tag right now, but you know, if we could get him for cheaper, maybe 18, 15 million, I don't see why not, but it would obviously be a summer move. I don't think we could facilitate that kind of move right now in January. But put in the comments below what you think. Also put your comments in below what do you think about Lewis O'Brien. Is he the perfect replacement? Could we get him off Forest even? I'm not sure. Tell me. Put in the comments below. Now it's time to be a little bit of a hypocrite. I think in episode 5 of Transfer Weekly, when I was wearing the yellow shirt, I said West Ham, always looking at who Palace are trying to buy, will always steal our transfer targets because they got a bit more money than us. They will always steal our transfer targets. Tried to steal Eze, but we got there. We wanted Ben Rama, they got there. We wanted Flynn Downs. He's a West Ham fan, so he went there anyway on a little WhatsApp call, popped in his little Uber and went flying over there. But hypocrite might I be, but they are looking at Matteo Guendouzi, and I tell you what, he's very similar to Lewis O'Brien and Conor Gallagher, and I think he's also the kind of player that we need right now. He plays for Marseille, and I think everyone remembers when he played at Arsenal, that rugby tackle on Zaha, that was criminal. That was really criminal. But, you know, he's one of them other players, isn't he? Gets stuck in, loves to get stuck in. Always put 100% on the pitch whenever he's playing. And he's actually a very good player, very underrated. He's actually a very good playmaker as well. Does like a good tackle, defends from the front, does everything needed. He just likes to gas out a little bit early. He doesn't seem to play the full 90 very often. But Guendouzi seems like a great player. French as well, so the Vieira connection could maybe bring him in. But I think for Marseille, they bought him for £11 million, and he's been a key player in their team. So I reckon that this one will probably still go to West Ham because they have got that extra little bit of money compared to what we actually have. I think he'd also fit their system a little bit more because they need a much more forward-thinking player, whereas we've already got the forward-thinking player in Eze. But, you know, we still need that enforcer in midfield. Not the full defender, such as Decore, but that guy that can go box-to-box, or another enforcer. But he looks like a perfect candidate, but I think the price will just be way, way, way too high. I think he's probably quoted about, 25, 30 million pounds for a midfielder. I think I said it about Sarr, really. Too much for January in an inflated World Cup window. And if we look at him, it will be in the summer, but I reckon West Ham will see this one through. Another thing, which I haven't actually spoken about yet, surprisingly, in a Transfer Weekly, Lewis O'Brien, very versatile. Ismail Sarr, very versatile. Played left wing, right wing. I think I spoke about it with Lewis O'Brien. Can play 6, 8 and 10. Guendouzi can also play 6, 8 and 10. And something that is just, I needed to say because it's a little bit of a joke at this point, but it's true. Vieira really wants someone that can play multiple positions so that we can cover lots of bases by buying a singular player. So let's get into some stats. Starting 15 times with 18 appearances. He covers a wide spread of the pitch, as you can see from the heat map here. Shows that he gets around, likes to defend, likes to get up top as well. He scored 1 goal, gotten 3 assists with an XG of 2.06, which shows that he's missed one key chance, or one big chance, this season, with 88 pass accuracy, which shows he's great at passing under pressure. If he's got 88 passing accuracy throughout the whole season, that includes long balls as well. Passing's got to be pretty decent, in my opinion. With 0.7 key passes per 90, shows very accurately that he is looking to progress the ball into dangerous areas and is very successful with doing so. 0.8 interceptions per 90, 1.3 tackles per 90, shows his defensive attributes are very good, but they're not what we need really. But that could also be because he plays for Marseille. Very ball possession team, don't really lose the ball very much, and if they do, it'll probably be won back by the whole team and not just him. So that probably means why his numbers are a little bit deflated. I'm sure if I look at his Arsenal numbers, that they'll rise straight back up again, because he was playing for them under Emery, I believe, and he was definitely that guy in midfield that was tackling and doing everything. But unfortunately, in my opinion, a little bit too expensive for us, and I don't see it happening realistically. I'd love it to happen, but too much money. I think that the Lewis O'Brien one is definitely a better value for money deal. But listen, you guys tell me in the comments, would you rather pay that bit more money for Guendouzi, or would you rather pay a little bit less for someone slightly less experienced when it comes to the Premier League in Lewis O'Brien? Let me know. I'm interested. Let's finish it out with the last guy. Let's get it. Finally, the 24-year-old centre-back from Denmark, Victor Nelson. You know what? This guy also plays for Galatasaray. He is a proper Rolls-Royce centre-back. Incredible in a back four, even better in a back five, and his passing ability is so similar to Anderson, it's uncanny. I think that if we get Nelson, or if we're looking at Nelson, who's another top centre-back, he's got to be starting, no? If we've got Richards, Gay, Anderson, Nelson, that's 4 first-team starting centre-backs. And if we're only playing a back four, then that means 2 guys are on the bench. And that's interesting to me, because I highly doubt we're going to have 2 people that are first-team ready on the bench. Is this a move which low-key indicates that Vieira's looking at switching to a back 5, maybe? I'm not sure. But for this guy, he's great. He's got the strength that is needed, the vision that is needed, the composure that is needed, and the passing that is needed to become a proper, incredible centre-back. He's got experience playing with Anderson in the Denmark national team in the Euros and the World Cup. In the World Cup, he only played 1 game, unfortunately. I think he got a knock in the first game, but he played left-back. And that means he can play centre-back and left-back, which is versatility. For someone that is worth about £15 million, for someone that is that good at defending, that good of a centre-back, I really don't see a problem with this transfer right now. Another thing about his game, which I never thought I'd talk about a centre-back, he reminds me of Scott Dan a hell of a lot, because sometimes Galatasaray put him up front. He's actually very good at up front, great in the air when defending corners, but also when attacking corners, very good with his feet, got a great shot on him, and also he's a penalty taker. I know centre-back being a penalty taker is a bit of an odd sight to see, but I think it's good. If you can strike a dead ball well, which Anderson probably could as well if he tried, but I'd love to see it happen, man. I think this guy is brilliant, would work incredibly with Anderson. Does that show maybe those links with Anderson going to Villa? There's anything behind it? I'm not sure. I don't think we'd let someone that important to our team go to another Premier League rival in January, especially this late in January. So I don't think it's going to happen. But something that throws a spanner in the works big time. Galatasaray have supposedly, I'm not going to quote anything, but apparently they're saying that we could have Bowie and Nelson for £25 million. Now, they've got history. They play in the same team as each other week in, week out. They've got a great relationship. There's been many times where Bowie's gone flying up the wing and Nelson's pinged him a ball when he's gone in and shot and maybe scored, maybe crossed it and got a goal. Great link-up play down that right-hand side, and something like that, which is already inbuilt chemistry. There's no reason why not to buy it, and especially £25 million when both of those players individually are probably about £15 million. We're kind of saving ourselves £5 million by doing this double deal. If this is true, I really hope it is, but this needs to happen. It is an incredible deal to not take and to pass up. And I think if it is true, we'd be stupid not to pay the money. Like, we can pay it back. Maybe we could see if we could do it in installments, but I doubt it. But listen, there's some good talents in that Turkish league, you know. People think it's just a league to go and rot away, collect the paycheck, or go get experience. No, you can actually find some very good young players out there. But let's look a little bit deeper into Nelson. With 20 starts in 20 appearances so far this season, he hasn't scored, but he has missed one big chance so far. Remember, he's a centre-back, but he does like to play up front sometimes in the very late stages of the game. However, 85% passing accuracy throughout the whole season, 3.5 long balls completed per 90, 9 clean sheets, and which basically means he's got one clean sheet every 2 games, so every other game is a clean sheet, which is actually very good. Let's not forget that. He has got 2 errors. The main thing with him is 2 errors which lead to shots, not even leading to goals, leading to shots. So it means that he's got the ability to run back, get back in front of the guy, so he doesn't score, but he makes a shot. It doesn't say whether the shot's on target or off target, but it means that he recovers very well. He does 1 interception per 90 and 0.9 tackles per 90. Does show that he doesn't actually tackle that much, doesn't defend that much, but remember, Galatasaray is one of the biggest teams out there, and they're a very possession-based team as well, but that's sort of how it rolls with teams that are out there right now. Final thoughts. What do you think? I would love Nelson and Bowie to come. Even if it's just one, I don't think we need a centre-back right now, but the Bowie is needed. We need a right-back of any sorts and a midfielder of any sorts. Let's finish it out. And yes, guys, that's it for Transfer Weekly during this transfer window. Remember, look out for the deadline day stream, which will be on Tuesday. I'm pretty sure the deadline's at 11 p.m, so we might start an hour earlier than that, or maybe half an hour earlier than that, but we'll see what happens. A little bit of a longer one today. You know, there's a lot of guys I wanted to get through. I wanted to really delve deep into, like, Lewis O'Brien and Nelson, because I think they're very interesting players to look at when it comes to a Palace perspective. But guys, as always, please tell me what you thought of this series in the comments below. I'm JC from Eagle Eyed Football. This is Transfer Weekly episode 7, and I'll see you in the live stream. Up the Palace. Eagle!